running as a server. It is running all these services within this one tool.
Okay.
It is running. It's a server. It's like a server running, and it is running as a SQL server. It is running as an FTP. So everything is running on this one system. By just launching this tool, you're running all these services. So anything the clients is looking for example, let's say some clients connect to me. Okay, like I said, what did I say? It first goes to DNS. Second, it goes to the localhost file. The third step, it comes to me. That time when it comes to me, they become my computer. Okay, it's a man in the middle. At that time, let's say if they want to go to a FTP server, I will serve the FTP response. So they will go through me because I'm already publishing an FTP server. So they'll type the username and password and it will come to me. So I will be the man in the middle. They're also doing a DNS server, so I can give whatever you want. So you can go real sophisticated with this tool.
So you don't even have to do art poisoning, nothing. Just,
No, this is the like I said, none of the SANS training, even if you pay $5,000, they're not going to show you this. No training will show you this. These things. These are more advanced techniques which only professional hackers use. They don't want to share how easy it is to do that, right? But we do that as professionals, and I'm showing it to here. And don't do this in your company because be careful, right? I mean, you can get credentials and you can be in trouble. They can fire you. Okay, don't do this. You have to get approval to do these things. But since my company, the clients approve, I do these things. So don't launch on a company network. That's why you need a lab. That's why I keep stressing. And people have a tough time creating a lab by themselves. A simple way which you can use for different purposes. That's why I thought, all the students need a lab. So that's why I created this course for lab. Creating the labs, and then you can go from there. So once you play and learn everything in your lab environment, and again, have Wireshark. Ask them when you're doing this, put Wireshark and see what's happening. If you just learn this tool with Wireshark, you will learn a lot. And like I said, I keep saying this, SANS, even though you pay $6,000 to the top companies in the world, a security company, not one training they teach about these tools. Nowadays they might have introduced, but the one training I attended like 2-3 years back, they never teach these things. So LLMNR, I know it's a mouthful, and NBTNS. So services are turned on, and there is a bunch of other services which are turned on by default. So what it does is, you see that as soon as I turned on, other systems are chatting. All the systems in my network are starting. This is going to exactly what's going to happen in your when you do pen testing internally. You're going to start seeing stuff from other clients. Those are not attacks yet, but you will start seeing information from other machines. And again, you're not doing denial of service or anything like that. You will just start seeing messages. But wait and see what happens. It does two things. It keeps listening to broadcast protocols from other Windows systems to see if it can act as a man in the middle to respond to those queries. So the way it works is, so when Windows systems to resolve a domain name to an IP address, it uses something called DNS, and if it's not able to resolve a domain name with DNS, it looks up the local host file, and if it is not able to find in the local host file, then the Windows system does is it broadcasts all the to all the systems in the local network saying, hey, I don't know this IP address of this domain, can you resolve it for me? So this is where this attacking system comes into play. So since broadcast packets are received by all systems in the network,
this attack happens at the third time, right? After the third attempt. So how often you can come to the third attempt? 90-95% of the time you'll get it. Someone will mistype, or it doesn't have to mistype. Sometimes your Windows systems does a lot in the background which you don't know. They talk to machines, they talk to backward systems, and those systems are not there. Those requests, even without doing anything, sometimes you will get the ashes which you're going to see right now.
Yeah, even if you can successfully authenticate to,
like
when you log in, it may take 10 back and forth communications or instances just to achieve that. So this should hear it, right?
What is it?
This should listen.
It will be listening, exactly. And it listens for all, that's what you're saying. These are not attacks, but it is listening from all the machines talking with each other. Right? So you will see even if you don't. Our Kali Linux box, which is also listening, will respond to those victim system sayings, hey, I am the machine, please send me all the hashes to my box. So this is how typically LLM NR poisoning works. And so I will show you how it is able to retrieve the passwords. So let me go to the Windows 10 system. This is a Windows 10 client, right? So if you type in a known system, then it will typically go to DNS or the local host file. So you want to prey on something which the user mistypes, or some of the services inside the system is looking for something which is not there. So for example, if I type something like a server which is not there on the network, this particular request will go to our attacking box. So if I press enter, you don't even have to press let enter. Me go back to the Kali box. You see that? So you don't even have to type enter. So I just put some some random server, I got this thing. So this is for that user, and this is the whole hash. And you can take this hash and you can crack it easily. Most of them.
The user didn't type the username password here.
No, but this is the hash. Because how is users authenticating to the Windows system? It's not always, it's already cached.
It's on your
local system. And they don't store passwords, they store hashes. And if you're trying to reach any system in the network, since you are part of Active Directory domain, it passes that hash to the server, and that's how they get authenticated. And that is the hash it uses to authenticate to any of the servers.
Is it which comes first? Because I've seen some weird problems of late is when you connect from home, because you don't have VPN, it authenticates with your local.
Yeah, this attack won't work with VPN because you have to be on a local network. VPN has a different tunneling protocol.
No, but when you log into your enterprise, let's say you back into your office, when you log in, it actually doesn't authenticate against your local password, it authenticates against your active.
If your domain controller is there.
It's turned on, right? When you go into,
Yes, if you are in a local network and then you put in your login password, right. So it goes to
80.
It goes to 80. I will try to explain after this. Maybe we'll do it. Like I said, I want to do that still. How Active Directory works. So once you put in the login name password, it goes to this Active Directory and authenticates. And after authentication, the client system stores the hashes. The next time it has to reach another server within the network, it doesn't send the password again because it's already authenticated. It sends the hash under the wire. Okay, that's why Wireshark is important, because you think it's magic. That's called single sign-on. How does you authenticate one time to a system and then you get logged on every time? System has to send something to the other server saying, hey, this is the hash. Okay, and then once you send the hash, that server, whichever server you're trying to authenticate, is going to talk to the Active Directory in the backend, saying, this client is trying to talk to me with his hash. Is he an authenticated user? The Active Directory will say, hey, yeah, I already authenticated that guy. He's good to go. So that server will be glad to respond to the request. So that's what's happening in Active Directory environment. So Active Directory is nothing but a single sign-on, right? That's called based on Kerberos protocol. Right? So that's how this hash, though we didn't type any username password, I'm already logged into the system, and that's the hash I get it. But this is not like this hash is called NTLM v2 hash. Yeah. You see that here? It's a kind of NTLM v2 hash. So it is different from Kerberos hashes. Those are the ones finding there's different hashes. Okay. So now we got this hash. So you can use tools like Hashcat. I don't know if you guys remember, or John the Ripper, right? Those tools are like hash cracking tools. So you can feed this to the system, and if they have any weak passwords, like even 10 digits, 12 digits, if it's a weak password, you can crack it within like 30 minutes. Okay, and we have a cloud system for our company, which is a GPU cloud system with us like 16 crores or something like that. It will crack this in like 2 minutes or something. So if you need to have 12 with complex passwords for it to not to break. Yes, sir.
Have you ever encountered an issue where a client would specifically request you not use any web-based cracking?
Yes, I mean, yeah, we need to be very clear when we discuss the scope.
Yeah.
So only if the client is okay with like using a cloud. I mean, this is our internal servers. They don't have a say because that's a part of the process. So we can crack it. We have to crack it because it's a pen test.
Right.
If it's a scanning, then we can't do that because it's just a scan. We just scan and tell them you have this many issues. But if it's a pen test, it's assumed that we will be cracking your passwords. But the only thing is, a lot of companies do is they send these hashes to cloud servers, like Amazon or like Azure. They have specific GPU instances you can launch, and those are very powerful systems. You can run for 2 hours, and you spend anywhere from $25 to $50, but it'll crack those passwords thing. But the only thing is, it's cloud based, and you need to get approval from the clients before you can do that, because you don't want. Though we will you don't want to share,
okay.
Or though we will terminate the instance of the cloud instances, we are cracking it on their servers, and we don't know where the passwords are backed up or anything like that, right? So it's always, we need to get the approvals from client. Sometimes we will get ntds.dit file of many clients. When I get that, that will be like all the users in the network. All the users. Like, I mean, one time I went to a hospital network, and there's like 200,000 users, and we used our cloud servers. It cracked 70% of the passwords.
Yeah.
So I had access to one of the big hospitals. So I was able to do that.
So how you are able to get all those users?
You need to get to the Active Directory.
Active Directory.
Yes, you have to. That is the goal. Most of the pen tests. Compromise Active Directory, and there's a file called ntds.dit file. That is the one you need to capture.
That's
So
the
once-
money.
That's what the thing is.
So even the new version of Active Directory is the same format?
Same thing. I mean, NTDS is always there. There's no way you can stop it. If people can, that's why I said domain admin credentials are very critical. You need to have like 50 digits or 30 digits, so no one should be able to crack it. And domain admins shouldn't log on to any of the client systems. For example, this happens even today in many companies. So when users have an issue, they call help desk. When help desk calls, in most of the companies, all help desk people have domain admin credentials, at least like a handful, right? I mean, I don't know your thing. I mean, do you know domain admin credentials?
No, I don't know, but help desk team they have.
They have it, right? And when they call in, they just have to log on to your machine and fix the issue. Say they'll use the domain admin credentials to log on to your system remotely, and then they'll do the stuff. But what they don't realize is those login passwords, as soon as they log on, is cached on your client system. And then if I do Mimikatz on that local workstation, I can dump the domain admin password. I can log on to Active Directory and domain admin. And that's how we do 70 to 80% of the assessments today.
So how do you avoid that from,
Don't
help desk?
log
How do they troubleshoot then?
They should have different credentials with limited. You don't need domain admin to troubleshoot the machine.
They have what their policy, they have create a desktop local admin separate, which is the Active Directory domain.
Yeah, you can create local admins which they can use that to login as a login, and those also should be set in a way it has limited privileges to do system administration, not more than that. So even if someone captures that, they cannot go too far. And also you can do policies like do not allow login to domain controller from any user space. So you can disable that. So domain box should be, you should just go physically and log on to the machine, or you should use like a jump box, which again it's not recommended, but that's a second approach. But Microsoft recommends another approach, and I forget the name. I'll show you the document after this. They recommend how to set up domain controllers. That's the only way you should access domain controllers, because domain controllers is keys to the kingdom. You don't even want anyone to go there. So even if you get all this other stuff, you don't want to get to the domain controller. So you should protect your domain controller and the credentials to it. Very, very careful. So anyway, any questions? So right now you saw me typing a server name. It was not there in the system. But again, this will work even if someone doesn't type it, because of how Windows just talk to different systems. They do stuff which are not there in the network, and it will come to me and I'll get the hashes. Because hashes are already stored in the client systems. Whenever it's doing something, the hashes is going to come to me. So now I got the hash.
We received hash from the 216 box, which is...
And this is NTLM v2 hash, okay? Which is secure than NTLM v1. 90% of the clients are using still NTLM v1 hash. NTLM v1 hash is easy to crack, very, very easy to crack. This one is a little harder to crack, v2. But still, you can crack it.
Using John the Ripper.
John the Ripper, just learn about Hashcat. That's the best one now.
Yeah.
Hashcat. It's like it uses GPU hacking thing.
is the Windows 10 box.
Like I said, I'm also planning a course on that one, how to do cracking on different MD5, SHA, all these different things. I'm going to do a short course. So I'm doing like short courses for me to just, it's easy for me to just show these videos, right? Instead of doing live demo. Yes?
Okay, quick question about your logins. Have you come across, brute force attacks?
Yes.
What are the recommendations you provide in account lockout?
Yes. Externally, on any external web application, right? For any web applications or remote thing, you have to lock out after 5 or 10 bad attempts. That's what my recommendation is. For Windows network credentials, you want to lock but you want to unlock within 30 minutes. Because if you lock after 5 bad attempts, bad people can find out usernames easily these days. Okay, let's say you have let's say people can log out to a remote desktop from anywhere in the world, right? That's what they do, or they use VPN, right? But if you lock out the account, it's easy to find the usernames. You can do a brute force. I mean, you can do like a bot, and you can lock out all the users in the company. And if each one calls help desk, it's going to be a nightmare. But if you unlock within 30 minutes or 15 minutes, there is no way anyone can brute force. Even if you put 15 minutes or 10 minutes gap in between, there is no way anyone can crack or brute force any of the thing. On top of that, if you have a strong password, no one is going to brute force it. Brute force is only for simple passwords, right? I mean, it's not easy to brute force if you have a complex password. Even if you have a 10-digit password with one special character in it, there's no way you can brute force. You can, but if you have this 10-minute delay after each lockout, there is no way you can brute force in the next 20-30 years. It will take that long.
So the idea is lock the account and then
unlock automatically. We can do that in Active Directory pretty easily.
Okay.
It's just a policy. You just push it to all the clients saying, I mean, it's a password policy, right? I mean, you can set it in Active Directory. That's why I'm saying, whenever you learn, most of the tutorials, they teach you a Kali box and one Windows 7 or Windows XP. People do tutorials still on Windows XP. What thing you're using today in Metasploit? When you're learning, you're using just Linux systems to exploit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're using Metasploitable. You're using Okay. That's a Linux system, right? But again, whenever realistically, like based on my experience, when you go to a client side, I mean, though Linux servers will be in the back end, your immediate visibility is only Windows systems. Most of the time, 90% Windows systems, and they'll have Windows servers. And Linux systems are there, but if they have a strong SSH password, unless they have a exploit which is not patched where you can exploit, it's not easy to exploit Linux systems, because Windows is much easier to exploit than Linux systems. The reason is Linux by default, they don't have a GUI, it's just SSH, right? So if you have a strong SSH, you cannot crack. I mean, unless if you can brute force SSH, but if they're using complex passwords, you cannot brute force. But the cool
describe a complex password. What do you think a complex password is?
12 digits for at least 12 for users. For any active user, 12 digit with uppercase, numbers, special characters.
Solution to that is to go for two-factor authentication. That's a way that
you can, but you cannot enforce two-factor on all the clients, right? Because people cannot, for each time they log in, they cannot use two-factor.
No, we have there is a key.
Not for internal.
For these kind of stuff.
For internal stuff. External,
laptop.
But I mean, it's expensive.
Most basic, uneducated user.
Yeah, because it may work, but it's cost. There's a cost involved. Yeah, they cannot. There's not realistic to implement. Or you can use a phone.
Right?
Not RSA key. There are a lot of solutions.
There's
You can actually download on your phone and do the two-factor.
You can, but for servers, like I said, that is a recommended option for Active Directory login.
Yeah.
So for Active Directory, you need to have two-factor. That's what we recommend. But for users, you cannot enforce those things.
So this is the key. Without that, we cannot even log in anything.
No, but then you have to give that expensive solution.
Yeah, that's
right?
very
That's the
expensive. If you
problem.
lose it, then there is a process. Not many companies can handle that process, right? I mean, losing management of the keys. And using phone is a thing, like Okta. That's how they became popular, right? I mean, it's a two-factor authentication using a phone.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many phone, Okta, right? So that's one.
use a CyberArk.
CyberArk, yeah, see, I was talking about CyberArk. A lot of companies use that. Again, that's a commercial product. It's not cheap. Not many companies can afford CyberArk.
So NIST has come up with new password guidelines that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common sense, right? I mean, people can go fancy with passwords. You got to be real. Like I said last week when I was here, I said use different passwords for different sites, which is not realistic because I don't do that. I use same password for all my banks. I use same password for all my social sites, right? I do that because I can't remember too, right?
So companies, they were using SSO, then came OAuth. See, but the thing is, OAuth is more to the social media and all. What's your experience? Did you integrate SSO and OAuth together, or how did you?
Yeah, I don't go to implement. I've seen many different implementations. People do differently. They use Okta, they use like SSO. I mean,
Okta is an IDM provider. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't give many guidance on the implementation because we just test the stuff because I don't involve in architecture. We just work with what client already has and we try to see issues. So we recommend something because even I recommend the fancy things, they are not going to take. That's why I said in the beginning, right? if there's an FTP, you cannot tell them to just shut down FTP. You got to tell them what they can do to get that out of the way in the next 3 to 6 months. Because security is the most hated people in the company. If you go as a security person, no one is going to like you, right? And anything breaks, they're going to blame you, right? So you have to think in those terms. So you got to be nice to those people.
Yeah.
At the same time, offer solution, and you got to work with them. That's the only way to be.
What's happening is suddenly, off late, what's been observed is security guys feel now superior, and they are becoming. What's happening? They're becoming bratish. So dev teams, oh man.
See, basically, security.
You're right. That the thing is when suddenly when you get power, people can't handle it.
Yeah, and also the problem is infrastructure team and security people is just 1 or 2 people most of the time, right? And they don't report to the same manager as the infrastructure team, right? So if you go report a thing, the infrastructure lead will be a high person in the team. He's managing the team. He's not going to listen to you. And there is no, unless a security CISO is controlling the whole division, that's when you can get the power to enforce anything you want to. But most of the time, CISO is just one person. He may have 1 or 2 person in his team, and he doesn't have any say with the other team. That's the problem. So, to me personally, I'm biased. I think DevOps infrastructure team should go under the security umbrella, and they should push all the things, because security is a top-down approach, right? It cannot go from bottom up. So if it comes from the higher management, things get moved slowly, right? Like I said, you cannot just say fix this, but you have to tell them how to fix it in an easy way, which doesn't affect production, because company cares about production. They don't even care getting breached. It's honest truth. They will accept the risk sometimes, saying, I don't care. This mission cannot go down even for 30 minutes. I lose like multi-million dollars. Okay? I will take care of it when the time comes. But when the time comes, it's a lot of money. But again, they were willing to take the risks, right? So it's a process. Security is not a product. It's a process. It is, you got to introduce slow things every time and then make it more secure.
But I think things are changing, because now if you're hacked, you're penalized by the government.
It is, yeah.
So now
but
it may not be enough money to break your business though.
Right.
And by being
beefy
in maintaining business continuity and profitability, the more money you make is the more money that you can pay for those fines or loss of social goodwill or whatever. And that's the attitude of quite a bit of higher management, but it is a nice factor when you do get executive buy-in.
Yeah, executives is always the thing. And security is still, like I said, as a consultant, if I go to companies, people don't like me. If anything breaks in the company, they come right watching to my because they know I'm doing a pen testing or scanning or whatever. Right? It's always scary. So I've been scared a couple of times because I don't want to be that person who brought out a system, which again, it's not bad because we already got the signature from the company saying it's okay to have that to happen. Right? It's a personal thing. I'm very careful. I'm doing the pen testing, but stuff has happened. Brought on because though your scanners may not do that, you may cause a lot of traffic, which will bring down many systems. Because many networks cannot handle the network traffic. Because if you run a tool like Nessus, it just pumps traffic to the systems. And though it didn't do any damage, it's just the mere traffic that brought into the local network. Systems cannot handle it. They just shut down.
Yeah.
Have you encountered companies with good communication that are able to disseminate when and where, unless it's secret, that they will do an announcement and say, capacity will be up, availability will be down.
Yeah, we don't get into those information. Most of the time, my engagements are short term. I go for a client for 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I go there, they give the testing and just do my testing stuff. So we don't talk with the teams. We don't do anything. Sometimes clients want to keep that as a secret to see how they handle stuff.
Spot check,
handle that, and then even if they're detecting my attacks, and like 90% of the time, no one will detect my attack, right? It's not. They're not even these attacks. Responder is not easy to detect, but scanning that should be easy to detect. Most of these tools can easily detect those things. So if they detect, they should terminate my port because I'm connected to a port, Ethernet port. So they should be able to terminate your port, and then no scan should originate. So they can do simple fixes like that. But again, if I do it slowly, if I'm a sophisticated hacker, none of these malwares or sophisticated targeted attacks, they're not going to bring a Nessus and scan it. They're going to be very, very focused. They're going to listen slowly what's happening in the network. They will identify one machine and they will patch an exe and send it to them, or they will find out a shared drive which all systems are logging into. They will monitor everything and they put malwares in that folder. So some user will take that file from the system, they'll execute it. So that's how they do methodically, right? That's how it happens realistically. But for us, we're trying to find all the weaknesses, and then I just scan. I mean, it's not like I'm not trying to hide myself. I'm trying to find.
When you're authorized, they can get over it.
Exactly.
So will this create any kind of network traffic?
This will, yeah, I mean, this will, but no one logs these things. No, this won't create no, it won't. No, this is pretty safe.
Okay.
Because I'm just listening. That is again online box, Kali box. I'm not pushing anything. Your clients are sending data to me. But once they get that, then you can have little damage, but it's not that. It's again targeted. It's only for that client system. So anyway, so far we got this hash, okay?
And it receives, it gives us the.
Okay, this hash, why are they using hash? Couldn't they encrypt, or is it encrypted?
No, hash is kind of, I mean, it's encrypted in a way, but it's.
But hash is more used for like totals, right? You want
No,
to
no.
make
No,
sure
no, no,
that
no.
one is
No,
being-
All
hash-
systems.
All systems, even the
Everything uses hashes.
Isn't it one way?
It is
No,
one way.
it's a hash is a one way. You are right actually. What happened? It take arbitrary string of data and it put it into a standard one bit of like if it is 128 bit. It's like that's a one way. We cannot reverse it. What happened is if anything changes on the hash, and if for example you have a word file or password, right? Say password. And it create a hash MD5 or SHA-1 or SHA-2 and it will have a standard hash. If you have password 1, the hash will be different.
Yeah.
So it's a randomness way of having an arbitrary string.
But still, it's a one way, and that's the way even to this day it's used.
You cannot reverse hash. Here they are doing it right. They have already created a dictionary word and they already created a hash. This hash they will compare with the hash of the database. If that matches, they say that this is a password.
Yeah.
So what they do that, in order to do that, there is a called salting, hash salting. What they do that when you have password, they take a additional input into that so that you cannot get the actual password. So there are many ways.
Okay.
You are right actually, basically.
No, so I think your question, I mean, you're right. So it happens. So I think you're right. I mean, you made based on what you think. You do hashing for file sizes so that it is not altered on the way or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So typically hashing is not used for that purpose. It is used for that purpose. So mainly back in 15-20 years back, Windows back in NT. Okay, Windows when you type in, what happens when you open your machine and log in? What do you do? What do you do first?
Username, password.
Okay, so what happens that time? This was back like NT days. When you put the username and password, the username and password was sent to the server in clear text. So if you put password 1, that is going through the wire. Remember last time I showed you Wireshark?
Yeah.
And that password will be on the network traffic. So you can see that. Okay, it will pass on to the Active Directory, and the Active Directory will check and make sure you're a valid user and then say okay to you. Okay? So every time you have to log in, what goes on the wire? Password. Okay, so that was, people found out that was a security issue. Okay, and then they changed in Windows 2000 and onwards. They changed the process. So they're not sending the password. So you put username and password, but the system, local system, it will create a hash based on the password, and it was sending the hash. Okay, and then the system, the Active Directory also knows the same password because it is an Active Directory user. Okay, and you pass the hash. And the server knows your password too, and it already calculates the hash for the password. So it matches the two passwords, and if it's okay, then it will send it. So what security do you gain here? You're not passing the password. You're passing the hash.
Yep.
So if someone captures the hash, okay, you have to crack the hash to get the password.
Yeah.
Okay, that is one thing. Okay, you have to crack the hash to get the password. So it's not clear text. If you have the password in clear text, then you can log on to any system you want or whatever thing. But if you have hash, you have to do an additional step. That's when this John the Ripper, Hashcat is all there to crack the hashes. Then they found out another attack called pass the hash. So you don't have to have the password to crack it. You can just pass the hash to any of the server and then it will authenticate you. So that is called pass the hash attacks. That is still relevant today. And there are mitigation techniques how to protect against that. So that is the theory behind that. So pass the hash is still there, valid, and we still use it. And so that's why, but this hash we're getting here, you cannot use it for pass the hash attack. This is NTLM v2. This is a different hash. Okay, but other hashes, like you said, when someone, if I count using Mimikatz, if I get, it will show all the hashes. I can use that to pass the hash. If they don't have a good mitigation techniques, I can use those hashes. But this one I cannot use for pass the hash attacks. So make sense or? Yeah.
Yeah, my point was like instead of using hash, why aren't they encrypting the?
This is kind of encrypted, right? But again, like I said, that's how it's worked. It has to pass the hash.
The reason for that, why they do it, they don't want to store your password as a plain text.
As in encrypt.
Yeah,
Yeah, in your local system, this is already there in your memory. In your local system memory, it's already there.
When you do encrypt, you have to decrypt to match and everything.
Yeah.
So what they do that hash